Allow the children
It's okay. Off your mind. It's okay. Off your mind.
Chai! Now wow, people wey suppose talk truth to power don't off mic. And if we talk, now 500,000 they go summer us, call them hate speech. But fear not, Maiyegun don't come. Him go torchlight every corner, nooks and cranny of all these bad people where they spoil our country. So my people make we laugh, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun diary politico, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. This one not the off in mind, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. And in the touchlight every corner, oh, yo, yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo, yo. Okay, some people be they holla say they want the power. Chai, them be promise us say we go get light and power. Nah. Them hustle sote they can't get the power. But now they know they do anything with the power. Every day, dollar just they get the higher power over naira. Still them talk say make we off mind. But thank God say Maiyegun don't come. So my people make you ladder, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun diary politico, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo. This one not the off in mind, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Maiyegun, that man too they talk. He too they talk. Say Maiyegun diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Woman picking, they the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Maiyegun don't come. So my people make you laugh, oh, yo yo. Maiyegun don't come, oh, yo yo.
Hello there.
Maiyegun la wa mo to dodo. Maiyegun la wa mo to dodo. Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube.
Good morning to you, good afternoon to you, and good evening to you from wherever you are joining us. It is brunch time with Maiyegun. Please read the caption of the broadcast, the description as well, share it. Invite your friends, invite your not so friendly friends. Tell them that Maiyegun Tag all of dear Hallelujah boys, dear Bobakus, on relationship blogger from Warri, paid over 500 million naira to renovate the guest house of the police IG. This was in December. A company that is totally dormant and it's no longer really functioning for anything at all. On the website of the CAC, but that company got over 500 million naira in December 2023. Los Abobakus, Shuku Alimanjiris, bad start, bad idiots. I do not know how much you are earning from, defending this your killer. 500 million is some money. Relationship expert, too. Read the rest and share this. But we are going to spend, some minutes in Ogun State. It's not going to be a beautiful sight. Take you around what the netizens have been sharing on social media in the last 48 hours. Ogun State is one of the highest grosser of tax or IGR, they call it. But if you begin to see some of these videos, so let's ask you today. Thank you so much for joining me again. And the brunch time with Maiyegun is in two parts. So the first part is to just give you an appetizer to what is really happening out there. But today I'm just going to be taking you on a tour of the roads in Ogun State as shared by the people residing in the states. In the last 72 hours, the residents of Ogun State, especially the young people, they have taken it up, at least again, to tell the world that wherever you heard about Ogun State roads 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they haven't gotten any better, but worse. For every successive criminal government in Ogun State, they've all had pictures, videos of completed road, completed this, constructed that. Most of them are just meant to be spread by their paid social media sellers. So I decided to kind of believe the residents, the ones who are like, the most eat somehow. So dubious Dapo has been considered as the worst to have become a governor in Ogun State. But as you lay your bed, so you lie on it. I wouldn't like to kind of take you through all of the journey of the culpability of the same people that are now possibly claiming victims now. So a lot of you are enablers, no doubt. Okay. Well, nonetheless, it won't, it shouldn't be denied at least basic thing like road. If you have left Nigeria for a while, or if you have not been to Ogun State for some time, well, you have not missed anything, to be honest. All right. So there's no point in you thinking that, man, the last time I was in that Ogun State was 10 years ago. I can't imagine it must have been so developed now, especially if you have been following those paid by Benga Daniel, Amosun, and now Dapo. It's almost the same pattern. But when you go to the interiors, when you go to the real, even the state capital, when you go to the major cities, I promise you, you've not missed anything. And that is why we're going to go to Ogun State this morning, right? So the tour is not really that kind of a beautiful one. But at the same time, maybe, just maybe, it could be a very good clarion call now. Because you know something, in the last 48 hours, dubious Dapo, I don't know how much is probably like, approved or rolled out for propaganda, to the point that dubious Dapo's trolls on social media, despite all of this I'm about to show you, they started saying that the person who started it is from Jos. Her name is Sawa, right? So she's in the state and she's so surprised with what she saw. She's like, no way, this can be Ogun State that we have been hearing about. Now, The dubious dark was paid trolls on APC, Egbekegbe on social media. So they decided to turn it into a tribal thing. They said, oh, all of you who are condemning, who are praising this girl, do you know that the girl is from Jos? She's from Plateau State too. Is her state better? Now they are tired of Lagos. They have seen that they cannot capture Lagos. Now they are targeting Ogun State by attacking the good governor of Ogun State. How can somebody come from Jos to be attacking the governor, Baba? Showing dilapidated, abandoned roads was almost turned into tribal attack. They said the Igbos who wanted to take over Lagos, thank you for the Ronukus. The Ronukus have been fighting them. Now, because they know that they can't capture Lagos, now they want to capture Ogun State. That's why they are exposing all of the rots in Ogun State by targeting Ogun State, by making Ogun State people to hate their leaders. Almost some of them were even saying, we respect our leaders. We know that our leaders can and must do better, but we don't need outsiders to tell us. But unfortunately, the rot was so much that their fellow residents of Ogun State, they don't allow and code. Now Ogun go kill all of you. They are showing you the dilapidated, abandoned road in your state. You said the person who is showing it to you is trying to come and take over Ogun State by making you hate your leaders. Like, how does that even make any sense? Now, so that they do. But not, thanks to the social media, by the way. So let's go to that Ogun State and see the beautiful Ogun State of dubious Dapo, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with this one. Ifo. So if you have been to areas like, Yesi, Ota, Ifo, and then you go to Ijebu-Ode, if you actually really go to 90% of the states. Now, I'm going to use this description, okay? If you come down to if you go to the west of the state, which is this Ogun West, right? Ogun West is the Yewa side, which also lead to all these Ifo, Ota, and all those places as well, right? Then you have the Ogun East, that's the Ijebu, the Remo, and all of that. Sorry, Ifo is not Yewa, by the way. So Ifo is part of the central, as they describe that, okay? Now, if you go to all this outside Abeokuta, you will think Ogun State is a place in Iraq. So, Irokunle Omoamoshi was demolishing people's homes. That last clip, that video you watched there, the last part, that's an abandoned bridge that Amosun spent over 14 billion to build. It's uncompleted. But before it became that dirty and abandoned, Amosun brought Bokwari to Ogun State to commission it as completed road, completed bridge, flyover. Six, 7 years after that, that's the leftover of the flyover. Do you see the surrounding area? Now, what prompted that was that when this Awa girl was so shocked to see how terrible the roads are in Ogun. Like, this is not the Ogun State that they were hearing, or she's been hearing about. So she made video and said that, man, we need to raise awareness. So this is really, really unbelievable. A state next to Lagos, They started attacking her. Those who were probably like the normal onboard voluntary slaves, they started attacking her. Oh, they wanted to go tribal. And then the people of Ogun State, go. They started making videos and uploading the videos of their areas at different times. And those are the videos, the collections I've just shared with you. And that's just part 1. I have up to 3 part of 4. Ogun State Road Tour. Let's go back on the tour.
Can you imagine? Check on the bus socks here. Oh, student come here. But there was socks one.
Bottle orange and one fish. Papa, the fish, I don't go knife for you. I chop it.
It's actually so stressful to watch. I don't know about you. At a point, I'm not going to say it's about the camera, because I know when the camera was like up, down, like that was doing my eyes like somehow, right? But somehow it's so stressful. Like you're just like, dear, like, okay, it's going to end. It's going to end. No, another one. Oh, another one. Oh, another one. I think that is what pushed Dubious Dakwa and his people to start pushing some of the old videos that he shared of what is done in 5 years. And in fairness, right, I kind of bring you that too before we continue, right? Okay. Dubious Dakwa is happy to have constructed at least 30 to 40 kilometers of road. He shared 34 kilometers of them in this clip combined, right? Watch it before we continue.
Economic importance to you because your taxpayers' money have been invested in them. We shall prioritize and complete them.
Really appreciate what you are doing for us. So we thank him. And we continue to pray for him to do more.
Adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ ọmọọba Dàpọ̀ Abíọ́dún fún iṣẹ́ ribiribi tó ṣe fún wa ní Owódé Ẹ̀gbá láti Ṣìún dé Owódé Ẹ̀gbá.
This road is not just merely a road that's been asphalted. It represents a vital link between communities, a boost to local economies, and a step to a more connected and aesthetically pleasing environment. This is a very crucial road. The road that connects all those coming from Abeokuta to Ṣìún to Owódé.
Like I said, I was all over the internet. Apart from those who came to attack the people who are actually uploading the recent videos and images of the terrible state of roads in their different communities, and they are kind of listing them out like that. I was all over the place to see more. That's why I said in fairness, so that you will know that I try my best to be fair. That's the only 2 videos of Dubious Dakwa that I could pick on in the last 2 years on social media. The rest are just pure praise singing of him, you know, he's slaying, you know that shit, right? But the people are like, you dey mad. 33 kilometers of road, right? 27 plus 6. Others are like, they are still coming, it's still coming. So show that for this, because these are videos of the last 48 hours of Ogun State, the final part.
And one fish. Papa, the fish, I don't go lie for you. I chop the fish, I belly full. But I'm looking my food. That thing I chop still. That thing leave my stomach up to now. Up to now, nothing. I never chop anything again. 50,000. Yes. and we buy bread 6,004. Papa, that's two of you chop 50,000 at the spot. I know the fish one go be like 80,000. So they roast and come do everything. Papa, you know, but you know, come live, Jerry. The man make me happy yesterday. He make my weekend sweet. My weekend. What did the man go cost of that thing? You say you miss from making things for you. They drive now. Now better road now, an express. Hold up no day before you reach Magori. Don't reach Magori. Okay, yes. Express now. Why they do all these things reach Magori? Express with them I will never reach Magori. Unless there is hold up. If there is no hold up. More. I just say, you know what happened yesterday? We just kí ló kàn èmi pẹ̀lú yín kí ló kàn èmi pẹ̀lú yín kí ló kàn mí pẹ̀lú kí ló ojú yín wo ló ń ṣò ẹ gbé pimples sójú ni ẹ gbé pimples ṣé kámẹ́rà fèsì yín. ṣé wọ máàsì ni àbí kí ni. O lè sanwó ọ̀kadà kó gbé mi sórí ẹ̀ sanwó méjì kó bọ́lẹ̀ kí n máa gbé lọ. Èmi ò lówó ọ̀kadà méjì sanwó ẹ̀ fún mi kí n máa gbé lọ. Ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni? Wọ́n fojú gbowó síbi.
This is Lafenwa Ayetoro Road. You can see Ayofe. I'm doing this video particularly because of you. Can you see? Straight down to Mopo Junction. That's the way it is.
Welcome back. So that is our tour of Ogun State. So if you have not been to Ogun State for some time, my dear, you have not missed anything. All right? There's nothing to say, oh my God, that place must have become so... I mean, I've been there for... The last time I was there was like 20 years ago. The most that will happen is that the road to your village is probably no longer any road there anymore. So you'd have to kind of manage to find a sign that will now say this way to... If you are expecting your village or your community that you left 20 years ago in 2024 to have, I mean, better, you have no idea. You see those locusts, those scavengers, those pickpocket opportunists, they always consider that they are doing the people a big favor. I'm just trying to help you. The state is in debt that is over 400 billion naira. Ogun State is in debt of over 500 billion naira. And then they said they generate over 120 billion every year. So rather than for those, for that money to make the people's life better, that amount of money has been able to buy that amount of poverty, that amount of dilapidated infrastructures. And the way you see road, just think about others, schools, hospitals, think about other necessary institutions and infrastructures that should come with them if their roads are like that. But they always have people they are paying. They have people working as their local government chairman. It is all take, and take. And if they do manage to construct 20 kilometers in your local government or your region, you should be so grateful. Other people are waiting. Other people also need road construction. That's how they deal with them. There is no local government area in Ogun State that collects less than 200 million naira every month. The highest wage bill for each local government in Ogun State was under 40 million naira. But now that they have possibly I'm giving you these figures because they were the figures that I'm actually so familiar with. I am from Ogun State. I have been involved in many of those things, core politics of Ogun State. I know these guys very well. And I know the level of destruction. And once in a while, when I have a chance of showing it to the rest of you, I just wish you can be able to react the way I would. I mean, you can be able to feel the way I feel. It's unfortunate, oh. It is, oh. And there is no way out for them anytime soon. For those of you who know them better. So what they do now is that, okay, we'll give you 50, we will give you 100 kilometers in Yewa. We'll construct 100 kilometers in Egba Central. We'll construct 100 kilometers of road in the east. Now that 100 kilometers of road can be maybe just 1 kilometer in your own local government. I'll be 2 kilometers. You know what I mean? Like they can put it, and it's not going to be like a new road. No, not always new roads. No, they will do all the patch and the rest of that, and they will paint the brighter pictures. They will print pamphlets to show their achievements. When you go up there, you're just like, but why? So I think it's an hotel. I heard that an hotel collapsed in Abuja yesterday, a building. There were actually people inside sleeping, like customers. Imagine you are sleeping inside your hotel room and then boo, to inside the hotel. I remember when I was younger, right? My favorite prayer. Oh, my mother of a blessed memory, right? I remember. So we had to pray before we go to bed, okay? So there's a particular, there's this line of a prayer that has been in my head since I don't know for how long, probably since I was maybe 3 or 4, because I was always there, Ami, ni oruko Jesu, hallelujah, hallelujah. And that prayer line is that, Ọlọ́run Ẹlẹ́dùmarè, bí a ṣe fẹ́ lọ sùn lálẹ́ yìí, kí a má tójú oorun dójú ikú. And that is, ojú oorun dójú ikú means once you go to sleep, we kind of literally believe that once you are asleep, it's like you are dead to the world. You are in a different place, right? Then you wake up later and all of that. So some people don't wake up. They just go to sleep and they don't wake up. So my mom used to pray against that as part of our prayers every night. I don't even know how to pray anymore. You know what I'm talking about, right? I don't think it's the same for the customers of this building. We sympathize. I don't know how many people, or if there are casualty, right? This was from last night. And I pick it up. Imagine that. So that is what a corrupt system sort of will always attract. When a system is corrupt and people cut corners, there is always going to be a payback time. And usually it is always very, very severe, like deadlier. It take lives. So I hope the victims, right? I don't know. I don't even know what kind of prayer. I told you I don't know how to pray, so to say. And please don't take that in the wrong way, okay? I just mean that I remember I knew how to pray when we were always doing the prayer points, prayer this. I was a born again Foursquare brother too. Okay, so you get what I mean? Like you have prayer points, and there were those who are really, really good. I have a friend here, Benga. He's a pastor in Redeemed Church. So he knows what I'm talking about. So prayer points, like you start picking them up and you start picking them up, and then you're like, okay, but I don't know how to do them anymore. Because back then, let me give you an example. I think it's going to come back to me a little bit. So back then, right, you just have to be prayerful. It's almost all the defense you had. the only defense we had. Okay. Things will happen and you don't have any explanation for them. Nobody is ready to. So if you can't find an answer to something that happens, right, then it is mysterious. And mysterious things happens, bad things happen to good people, blah, 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 blah. So you need to be strong. I know some of you know who are now like, and well, now pretty much like I don't believe in religion and all of that, but that wasn't how you were raised, right? We were raised to be prayerful, strong. And you see, some of us were not prayerful, but we believe that there is somebody somewhere who is so prayerful for us, right? Growing up. So you now realize that what we usually pray for, this is why I don't know how to pray anymore. Sure you get. I don't know how to do that prayer anymore, right? What we usually pray for, the prayer points were the things that if you look back today, you just be like, better those in charge of that contraption Nigeria, better for if to say cause they work in it. Let me give you an example of those prayers in Yoruba, because that's what I can remember, right? So how suffer Oluwa wípé ọ̀tá mi, something like ọ̀tá. Okay, I think I can try this in English. Let's just go on English so that I don't confuse you further, okay? So prayer points like, you will close your eyes. You will shout the name of Jesus 7 times at the top of your lung, the highest you can, so that the heaven will hear your voice. You will now say, God, all of, my enemies who have attached, they have hung my glory. No, sorry. I'm trying to kind of get it right? You get what I mean? Like, those prayer points, like, shout Jesus 7 times. Shout, holy, holy 7 times. And then you now tell God that your glory that people have nailed on the tree, your glory that people have thrown in the river, all this your glory that people have buried on the ground, Holy Ghost fire, uproot them now. And as you are doing that prayer, you kind of begin to feel like, my life is going to be better by the time Holy Spirit is done. Oh. Here you get like, no weapon fashioned against me. If you see, let me tell you, they say, if they throw your destiny, if they put your destiny, because they can put your destiny inside a piece of cloth, okay, and few other things, or tie your destiny around a candle, okay, and throw it in the river. So if they throw your destiny in the river, sit, then the prayer warriors can get it back for you. If they can't get it back for you, that's it. You just have to you just have to die. How many of you remember that? Because when I'm saying all these things, you are laughing. It's not a laughing matter. Okay, this is the point. If you ask me, what are you trying to say here? The point I'm trying to make here is that we pray so much for the things that we know could happen to us because of the type of environment we are living in. Here you get. And we have been made to believe that so strongly that a lot of us actually believe that that's all we had. And it's true. Okay, what else do you have? Do you have money for Mopo? Do you know the DPO? Do you know blah, blah, blah? Even if you know the DPO, you still need this or that. So, yeah, there were prayers like that. Prayers like you want to go for a job interview. All right? And because it is Nigeria, it is not because you do, it's not how well you perform at the interview. You need the grace. So you need God to favor you. Not that you are trying to say that God doesn't like others, but because you know that like there's a way you can get a little bit of favor from God. What about you just add fasting and prayer before you go for the interview and read Psalm 30 and Psalm 99? And maybe Ezekiah and Jeremiah, read the two of them together from chapter this to verse that. The Magbagbe Tanoromi at Amara Galatia. You can also read the Galatia 30:30. Something like that, Sha. If you speak to God in those languages, right, you will get the job. And then people do it for faith. They say, I have faith. It's about faith. But it is about bribery of faith. You know what I mean? Like, then you realize that when you are no longer inside that contraption, you do not really, you just have to do what is right. Right? And then you just leave the rest. If something doesn't come your way, then you try something else. If that one doesn't work, you try something else. There are options there for you. While you are trying, different things, right? You could still be doing something too. Society matters. So a lot of us who now left Nigeria, instead of us having to be, continuing that prayer thing and all of that, you can't realize your more prayer, no, they pay electricity bill. You can still pray, but you still have to go and clock in. Nobody told us. You just have to be like Omo. So more and more people are no longer just praying that God should probably give them some privilege anymore, right? They are mostly like they're praying for long life because they are used to prayer life. Like, oh God, I pray for your protection and long life. Not because they believe that's the only thing that will save them, so to say, right? I do remember those prayer warriors, though. It's same as those of you who are graduates. Okay, now you have to join a crusade. You are graduates, you have no job. But the problem is not that you are a graduate that you have no job. The problem is that you are a graduate with wrong skills. Okay, not just that you are in a wrong place, led by the wrong people. Now, a lot of you are graduates, just graduates with the wrong skills that nobody needs anymore. So what will be your, what is your qualification? I have BSc. I have BSc in what? Political science. Political science. But we'll just join PDP. I'm going to join APC. When any other skill? No. And then suddenly, instead of you to kind of go look around you and be like, come on, I need another skill. Then you probably want to try and spray your way out of it or shortcut out of it. You know what I mean? Like, then the warehouses that were sold because the economy was bad, the country is praying. And they've turned them into the mega churches and mega prayer centers where you can go and ask for God to give you a job. Heavenly Father, before the end of this year, I want you to surprise me. I need a new job. Heavenly Father, I want to work in share. Do you kind of get that, right? Or you don't even get it? Okay, it's all right. So you are in a place where people knows that these days, 30-year-old, maybe 40-year-old too, are still pretty much like, not only that they are living in poverty, right? They are living off the people. No job, no skill, no family, no nothing, no ambition. And it's because of the contraption. But you see girls who are of marriage, ages and all of them. Some of them who really want to have families. They do not have anyone to have family with, or anyone who really, really want to settle down and have family. Person with the Roger in mate here, left, right, and center. You see me, you can't do marriage because he done the late for you. Then you went to another scammer who opened a shop, and you go there and say, carry me they go, Jehovah, carry me they go, my husband, that's carry me they go. That's the one that we got remixed to the other one. Oh. Yeah, girls went to churches every Shiloh. Every year you will see them at Shiloh, asking God to give them husband. But the supposed husband, supposed men who should become their husband, they're not even worth what you can call the boxer material, talk less of husband material. Nobody wants to settle down because of what the economy is, because of what the system is. But maybe if we pray for it, it will happen. You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not how it works. And it won't. So they were in a church, you know, see them every Shiloh. They are there asking God, who are you praying to come and be your husband? That 35-year-old vuvuzela on social media whose life ambition is to become a PA, personal assistant to MC Olueran or Koko Zaria. And he's been working towards that. He's on social media, right there, you know, busy with Wizkid versus Burna Boy versus Davido. At the age of 38, you are there in Shiloh calling his name, holding his picture, that God should let him come and marry you. And then God just probably feel like, what are you talking about? The person you are holding his picture doesn't even have any, he's not even aware that he's in a relationship. You are only in a relationship with yourself. You are dating yourself. Now you are bringing his picture here. The way is on social media right now, dragging Wizkid versus Davido. Now that kind of person you want to make your children father. So God will just look at you and say, well, Benny Oti, you are dating yourself. You think you are in a relationship. But a lot of you are not looking at it that way, right? So prayer points over absurdities, over nonsense. But if Nigeria is a real place, you won't have to, right, spend so much energy, right, looking for what you can do yourself or expect God to do that for you. So, may we not move from sleep to sleep. Rest in peace. Rest well. In Kenya, the Kenyans are back on the street, by the way. And this morning, the demand is the same. Ruto must go. So this morning, the Gen Z themselves were able to capture some armed thugs that were being mobilized by the Nairobi local council, the Nairobi City Hall, where you have the Nairobi City Council. They were mobilizing, they were giving, cops, weapons and all of that. They were mobilizing young people, some armed thugs. In Kenya, they call them goons. And that was captured on camera this morning. Now, it's already boiling in Kenya. I'm going to come back later and give you the lowdown as usual. Sure you get. I don't want to give you the tip. But this one is better for you to know what is going down in Kenya. You see, the first 40 seconds of this clip, right, is to show to you. You see those people that are moving in and out of a building you are going to see. They are those considered as the government-sponsored goons, like those ones we call Agbero in Lagos, right? Government-sponsored goons who are armed, who are going to go and, counterattack the protesters today. At least you can see it from here. Watch. every Tuesday. That's when they all move to the State House, demanding for the resignation of William Ruto, their president. In Nigeria, where they will use religion, tribe, to keep the people divided. For the first time in a long time in Kenya, the Gen Z have decided to bring common sense to their parents. And the parents accepted that if there's any time for everyone to have a conscious call on themselves, the older generation in Kenya, if they have completely lost it, the best time is now that these younger people are putting their foot on the ground and say, enough. The best for you is to actually support them, not politicize it, not tribalize it, not religionize it. In Nigeria, they will tell you to protest Islam. The Olori Brukus will tell people to go and pray for these criminals to succeed instead of standing up to them. In Kenya, it's different. You've seen the bishops, you've seen the Catholics and the rest of all of the Christendom, right? But here is the person who is the chief imam or league of imams in Kenya. He has something to say about this showdown.
We have lost very important people in this process. We have lost our boys and girls. We have got so many who have been injured. First of all, we condole all those relatives of the ones who have died, and we pray for those who are still in the hospitals for a quick recovery. We have to start feeling for this before we even start talking about the issues. The problem is we always address the issues and we leave the sufferings of Kenyans. There are Kenyans who are suffering, who have lost their loved ones. We should address that. As far as the clergy is concerned, they have a role. Will they deliver on the role? It depends on the leaders of those different sections of the society. But do they have a role? Yes, they do have a role. My position, or the position of the Muslims, first of all, is that we commend the position that has been taken by the youth. At my age in this country, for 40 years, I was fighting, struggling to get to the position where the youth have taken us today. Yeah. We've got a new constitution, but there's no constitutionalism in this country. Laws are being made to suit some people. It is legalizing the illegal, which is what's happening in this country. What the youth have done, they have come and taught us a major lesson. First of all, the youth have gone beyond the barriers of tribal relationship. Yeah. They have gone beyond the regional representation. They have gone beyond ethnic and religious divide. That teaches the people of Kenya a lesson. It is something that we should immediately pick it up. That when we sit like this, we don't see ourselves, people come from different religions, right, but we see ourselves as Kenyans. Mm-hmm. We don't see ourselves from different tribes, we see ourselves as Kenyans. It's something that we have been taught today by our children. And our children need to be recognized for that.
That's right.
Secondly, the subjects, the way that the youth are handling now, it is what we would have wanted to be handled. We didn't know how. We didn't have the means. Because we became selfish, we became individualistic, we became tribal. Their unity and unity of purpose, coupled with peaceful demonstration, has taught this country a major thing, that nobody is above the population of this country. That goes for the presidency, that goes for the CSs, that goes for the MPs, that goes for the governors, and that goes for MCS. For the first time, there is recognition that there is people that actually the leadership have to account for. Okay. We did not get that for 60 years. That was brought by our boys and girls. We should appreciate that greatly. Okay. I think it's a major achievement in this country. Yeah. We, as clergy, have to support the youth to bring about these changes. We have lost.
You get that? Now, here is the Ruto, the dictator, the ruler of all lands, the president for life, the president Marshal or provost Marshal or Marshal General for the land of Kenya and beyond. Ruto, the dictator. The the older guys in Nigeria needed to be taught a very good lesson too. Unfortunately, they are investing so much in the tribal, divisive identity politics. Because that's the only way they can keep on oppressing millions by dividing millions using tribe, ethnic, religion, and other sundry things that never really had any value to the people. So let's hope that we have a younger generation inside that Nigeria that is going to pick this up too. I do hope, by the way. Now, here is something I picked up. I always pick something up, right? So here is something I picked up on the side of the way, okay? We have seen the GMO maize. We have seen the GMO beans. We have seen the GMO peas. I have seen a GMO chicken. I've also seen the GMO piglets. I just haven't seen a GMO gari. So somebody posted this and I checked it out. So now they have a GMO cassava in Nigeria. A lot of things have been, indeed, a lot of things have been signed up for this GMO, this GMO that it seems that we are coming late to the party. Princess said that the GMO has been in Nigeria for years. And that sounded like an overkill. Years, bow. So they have Gary for GMO Gary too. So what is left? The next thing is going to be GMO. You already have GMO tomato. GMO, maybe you have the GMO okra. You have the GMO ugu. Shekoti finish burn. And why? Who are those collecting these seeds and planting them in Nigeria? Who? Anyway. So this is not to alarm you. It's just kind of to remind you that when you have thieves, when you have criminals in charge of the contraption, as you always have them, right? It is so foolish and stupid for anybody to expect them to act otherwise than to steal, loot, plunder, and even kill. Take a look at this lady. Her name is Rebecca Omokamo Godwin. So we picked that name up from the CAC. Okay, so there is a website called the Govern NG, so to say. So where you could pick up on who and who is getting what and what from the federal government of Nigeria as a means of a contract. Rebecca, maybe they use them or maybe she used herself or I don't know yet. So in December 2023, Thiefnubu's government paid 354,178,625 naira and 25 kobo. They said it is being part payments to the above company for the extensive renovation and furnishing works of the guest house of the IGP, Maitama Abuja. Then they paid her again, another one. The name of our company is BeckyBliss. And BeckyBliss is a relationship company. Yeah, she's a relationship blogger. It's not even a relationship company. You know what a relationship blogging means? Yeah, some of you will write stories about your partner anonymously, and somebody's going to publish them. You're going to seek advices. You're going to ask questions on dates and stuff like that. Now, wait till Rebecca to do be that. Oh. So she registered it in Nigeria. But the company was just like saying it's going to be into cosmetic something and relationship, blah, blah, blah. Oh. How person will be relationship blogger? Bloggy is like Linda Ikeji. Hang on. Linda Ikeji. You all know she's a blogger, Abby. But she can also tell you that she's a businesswoman. Nah. Anyway, this Rebecca collected the balance of 153,426,185 127 naira and 35 kobo. They said being final payments to the above named company for the extensive renovation. Baba, they take 500 million naira, renovate IGP house. Abba now. Now they now figured out that the company is even like dormant, like it's not active, like it's, you know. But December, just this past December, oh my cash out to 500. Aduke. Do you know that you are the one who came to my mind when I saw this? I was like, I don't know why. I just feel like, the image of Rebecca reminded me the image of Aduke that I have in my head when she was telling us about them cashing out, that people were cashing out in Nigeria. All it takes is just to use your name to take out a contract. At the end of the day, Rebecca may just be given just maybe 20 million or 30 million. The rest of the money go back to the pocket of the people who awarded it to her. Meanwhile, Rebecca may actually indeed get more than 100 million. Kilo con Rebecca. And that's the only one we found out. Rebecca only to one business for a while. So you that will act surprised is what I am surprised about. There are some of you who are going to act that you are shocked. It's what is going to shock me. So your surprise is surprising me as well as your shock is shocking me. You have thieves in charge of your country, in charge of your treasury. What do you think they do? What do you think thieves, what do you think they do? What do you think thieves does? They steal. And they steal in a way that they consider themselves a very genius. SPV, special purpose vehicles. Nigeria only make here. With these guys, not because Nigeria only make it out of this whole thing. Tell me how you want to get out of it. How? Because me now, self, I don't fear. When they showed me this meat and they said GMO meat, this one called, you know, say this thing look like a normal beef, Abi. See meat. See meat, oh, see meat, oh. Meat, you. About that thing, now lab them build them, as you see them so. Laboratory. With the fat, with everything. So if you see, sometimes that if you go book her for Nigeria and you want to go chop, they don't kill the cow for your present. Come be like someone, I know the chop. Even the cow self, I go to look at and someone say, you know, that feeling that you have to walk to a cow before they kill the cow and be like, the cow will look at you, and then you are like, this cow, they sound like a GMO. I bet you get how we fit take no say this cow na cow or na GMO. Is that not the future they are leading us to? With the weak men in charge of that contraption, taking in everything they can, as long as the dollar bribe is steadily coming in. Let's leave it at that. Now, I have a reading to do. I'm not going to ask us this time, okay? Because we just really have to get this off further as much as possible, okay? So we are going to continue our white malice. We're going to continue that this afternoon. You know, I'm going away for 3 days. So going away for 3 days means that I should leave you with enough stuff that you can possibly just watch again and again and again. This is one of them. So I'm going to take a quick break. Okay. So when I get back, we are going to read there from chapter 15. Now, this is the part 2 of the broadcast. So we're going to read from chapter 15. Just chapter 15. We don't need to go to chapter 16. Because chapter 16 is things fall apart. Can you see that? Things fall apart. Sorry, the light won't let you see it properly. So I'm going to come back and read this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 pages of chapter 15, Year of Africa. Don't miss it, okay? And if you have to miss it as well, like the video before you go. I'll be back. speak in tongue. I need another song. Anyway, we will be continuing the reading of White Malice. This is going to be after the independence of Belgian Congo. A lot happened. And to those who have been following this, right? So let's just continue. Right. So, Year of Africa. Ghana was one of the first nations to open an embassy in Independence Congo. Andrew Ginn, Nkrumah's personal envoy in Leopoldville, was appointed Ghana's official ambassador. The embassy was centrally located in the city on the steep bank of the Congo River. Ginn worked with Ghana's government to send to the Congo some of the professionals it so badly needed. Doctors, nurses, policemen, engineers, electricians, civil servants, and other trained personnel. Some of them flew to the Congo in Egyptian planes, while others went by Ghana Airways, flown by Ghanaians. The Congolese who saw these planes arriving could hardly believe their eyes. With fewer than 20 university graduates in their own country, they were stunned to see pilots with black skin. On the day of the Congo's independence, Ghana's Daily Graphic published a full-page article about its new prime minister. Lumumba rose to power from a prison cell. It was written by a Swiss journalist, Francois Bondi, who was the editor of the French magazine Renovte, which, like the UK-based Encounter, the Italian Tempo Presente, and the Latin American Cuadernos, was affiliated with the Paris-based Congress for Cultural Freedom and funded covertly by the CIA. Bondi had joined the CCF in 1950, becoming the director of his publications. The following year, he established Renovte, which he edited until 1969. It swiftly became one of the most important literary reviews in Europe as a magazine aiming at an Atlanticist, anti-neutralist, and pro-American consensus, observes Francis Tono Saunders in Who Paid the Piper. Renovte was unmistakably the house organ of the Congress. It was based and published in Paris, the home of the CCF headquarters, and thus had a closer relationship with the CCF than the Congress's other journals. The London Times later described Renovte as one of the decisive weapons of the West in the cultural Cold War with the Communist East. Bondi, it claimed, helped to win the Cold War intellectually long before it was won over politically. As well as editing Renovte, Bondi wrote on occasion for the Forum Service, a syndication organization that mailed articles to editors in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Offering free reproduction rights, it was a CIA front, later known as Forum World Features, which the New York Times in 1977 described as perhaps the most widely circulated of the CIA-owned news services. According to the journalist Russell Warren Ho, who had links with the CIA, it was set up to provide what was regarded as balanced, informed reporting for the press of developing countries. It was possibly through the Forum Service that Bondi's article on Lumumba reached the Daily Graphic. Bondi reported that upon his arrival in the Congo, he had first seen Lumumba's face on the shirt of his taxi driver, where it was printed on the front and back with the inscription Independence 30 June. Finding Lumumba in person was more challenging. However, he finally caught up with him in Stanleyville, where he hung around Lumumba's home and office, hoping for an interview. All of a sudden, the Prime Minister suggested going for a drive and a chat. We got into his open American cab, reported Bondi, and the chauffeur drove off. From all streets, there echoed the cry, Uhuru. Whenever Lumumba traveled somewhere, observed Bondi, his journey lasts many hours, since in every village, the inhabitants throw trees in the road, block the route, and refuse to let him go until he has made a speech. In Bondi's account, the All-African People's Conference in Accra in 1958 is given significance as an event that played a decisive role in the history of the Congo. Bondi's article reveals an open mind in relation to Lumumba, whom he portrays sympathetically as someone with unshakable calm. It shows, too, that Lumumba was hugely popular in the Congo, a perception shared by Bronson Tweedy, who was concerned to prevent any Stop Lumumba campaign on the grounds that Lumumba was one of the few, if not only, Congolese leaders with a Congo-wide appeal and standing. Neither Bondi nor Tweedy at this stage were showing any of the antipathy for Lumumba that was felt so strongly by Bill Borden and Larry Devlin. But Bondi's article demonstrates far more interest in white people, whom he referred to as Europeans, than with the majority population of the Congo. Bondi concluded his article with a tribute to Belgian colonization as a form of rule which, for all its sin and shortcomings, may justly be described as the great, even noble legacy of the Belgian administration. On his way to the Belgian Congo, Bondi traveled via Brazzaville, which he described as the sleepy and dilapidated capital of the French Congo. While there, he heard Lumumba's name constantly. Possibly he met with Lumumba's friend, Luis Lopez Alvarez, who was also a member of the Congress for Cultural Freedom. Both men had published articles in Cuadernos. But whereas Lopez Alvarez, was almost certainly ignorant of the CIA's role in the Congress, it seems likely that Bondi knew of it. Stono Saunders includes him in the list of those who were aware that Mike Joselson, who had set up the Congress and managed it in Paris, and with whom Bondi worked closely, was a CIA agent. Not all of them were witting, in the sense that they were active participants in the deception. Comments Stono Saunders. But they all knew and had known for some time. And if they didn't, they were, said their critics, cultivatively and culpably ignorant. Chantal Hunt, the wife of Joselson's assistant, John Hunt, told Stono Saunders in 1997 that she was surprised that anyone involved with the CCF in Paris would deny knowledge of the agency's role. She herself had worked for the French Ministry of Culture and briefly for the CCF. Everyone in France, in my circle at least, she told Stono Saunders, knew the truth about who was behind the Congress. They all talk about it. They will say, Why do you want to go and work there? It's CIA. Everyone knew except, apparently, those who worked for it. Isn't that odd? I always thought so. At the time of the All-African People's Conference in 1958, there were only 9 independent countries across Africa. But in 1960 alone, 17 African nations became independent. And by the end of the year, Africa represented 1/4 of the United Nations member states. Bunche says 60 is Year of Africa, reported the New York Times on 17 February 1960. A slogan that was picked up widely and with enthusiasm. There was a growing sense of hope and optimism across the continent. But the injustices continued. On the 21st March of that year, in the town of Sharpeville, South Africa, the police opened fire on a peaceful protest against the racist pass laws, which required Black South Africans to carry pass books at all times. 69 unarmed people were massacred, and many were badly injured. This was a defining moment in South Africa's freedom struggle. In solidarity with the victims, Chief Albert Luthuli, the President General of the African National Congress, ANC, Nelson Mandela, and other ANC members all burned their own passes. Just over a month later, the United Nations General Assembly discussed apartheid for the first time, declaring that it was in violation of the United Nations Charter. On the 1st July 1960, the day after the independence of the Congo, the Republic of Ghana was proclaimed. On the 27th April, a general election had been held alongside a referendum on the creation of an executive presidency. The referendum in favor of the presidency passed, and Nkrumah, who won the election, became Ghana's first president. The rule of the Governor General, which had been held by Lord Listowel since independence, was obsolete now that Ghana was a republic. A photograph of Listowel walking to his plane to leave Ghana shows Nkrumah cheerfully waving goodbye to the representative of Elizabeth II. Now, 50 years old, Nkrumah was confidently holding the reins of his government. His office and residence had moved from Christiansborg Castle to Flagstaff House in the middle of Accra, which had been the army's headquarters during the colonial days. Work at Flagstaff House, noted Tawia Adamafio, Minister for Presidential Affairs, was mountainous and urgent every minute. Under Nkrumah, Ghana was building a new post-colonial infrastructure to benefit the majority of citizens. Since 1954, Nkrumah had been eager to see the introduction of compulsory and free primary education, and his government was working to accomplish this by 1961, which it did. The school population in Ghana quickly shot up, whereas in 1960, the number of students enrolled in first grade was just 123,000. The number enrolled in September 1961 was almost 100,000 more. Schools sprang up like mushrooms all over the country, wrote Adamafio, and a great spirit of educational endeavor seized the people and propelled them onto an enthusiastic, voluntary effort in the provision of school accommodation. Most villages boasted at least one primary school. Teacher training enrollment increased from 1,916 in 1951 to 4,552 in 1961, an increase of 137.5%. So, yes, university students in that period increased from 208 to 1,204. The number of hospital beds went up from 2,368 to 6,155. Gravel road increased by nearly 60%. Telephones increased by over 345%. Under colonial rule, Ghana's economy had been made dependent on one cash crop, cocoa. This was a huge threat to the economic future of the newly independent country, since the demand for cocoa was dependent on the consumption levels of a handful of Western countries. Moreover, note, Kofi Beno Ajo, a press aide to Nkrumah, and later the editor of New Africa. The African producer of cocoa was left with very little after the European marketing firms and the colonial taxmen were through with him. Despite this obstacle, according to Adjo, the results of Nkrumah's strategy were impressive. The state invested in oil and sugar refineries, meat canning, soap and paint-making factories, and a vehicle assembly plant. Investments were also directed towards agro-related industries, so as to provide the foundation for meat canning and sugar production. Other initiatives in this sector were designed to lower Ghana's dependence on food imports, such as meat, rice, and sugar. As a result of these policies, Ghana's real gross national product increased by 24.5% between 1960 and 1965. The new enterprises established during this period, Adjo adds, provided the country with a new structural foundation for economic growth. And this occurred despite the dramatic decline in the price of cocoa during the years 1960 to 1965. Not all Nkrumah policies were popular with everybody. Some Ghanaians had reservations about his massive project to build the Volta River Dam at Akosombo in order to produce hydroelectric power for processing Ghana's bauxite into aluminium. New nations, declared Nkrumah, which are determined by every possible means to catch up in industrial strength, must aim for large-scale industrial advance. Electricity is the basis for industrialization. But Dr. Joseph Bokie Dankoa, leader of the opposition, described the hydroelectric project as a communist-inspired prestige undertaking. He tried his utmost to ditch the project. Nkrumah persevered. He sought and eventually obtained American funding and technological expertise. Work on the dam started in 1961 and it was inaugurated in January 1966, creating the Volta Lake, which is the third largest artificial lake in the world by volume. The resettlement of 80,000 people into 52 new villages was partnered with the introduction of better living conditions and farming methods. But many people were traumatized when their homes and farms were flooded. There was concern, too, about the environmental impact. The hydroelectric power plant fueled the aluminium smelter and also provided electricity to urban centers. In 2020, the Akosombo Dam provided 85% of Ghana's electricity and also supplied Togo and Benin Republic with power. Wow. One of Nkrumah's actions that worried even some of his most loyal supporters was the Preventive Detention Act of 1958, which gave the government power to detain offenders without trial for 5 years. Joseph Godson Amamu, who served as a diplomat for Nkrumah's government in London, Hungary, and Vienna, pays tribute to the government's huge and transformative achievements in the Ghanaian Revolution. But he is also conscious that mistakes were made, including the Preventive Detention Act. In Ghana, 50 years of independence, Amamu describes the act as notorious because it meant that the vaguest suspicion of political disaffection could lead to swift arrest and detention and to outrageous violations of human rights. Geoffrey Bain, a British left-wing lawyer who was Nkrumah's Attorney General and trusted advisor, much loathed by the British government, was deeply troubled by the act. As a former British member of parliament, he had opposed the Special Powers Act in Northern Ireland, under which political offenders could be imprisoned without trial. As a stubborn opponent of preventive detention anywhere in the United Kingdom, he observed in his memoir, "I would, for this reason alone, have found it hard to accept it in Ghana." His view was modified shortly after the bill was passed. A dangerous tribal conspiracy was discovered. It was clear that it could only be dealt with effectively by the use of special powers. But his scruples never entirely left him. Nkrumah was not without powerful political enemies. His most notable opponent was Dr. J.B. Danquah, who had stood unsuccessfully as a presidential candidate against him in April 1960. Danquah had taken a vigorous role in the struggle for independence from Britain and was widely respected as one of Ghana's founding fathers. A lawyer of distinction, Danquah was the section chairman of the Europe-based International Commission of Jurists, which was revealed in 1967 to have received CIA funding through the American Fund for Free Jurists. Following this revelation, the ICJ successfully pulled away and established itself as an independent organization. Slightly more than 3,000 subscribers received ICJ publications in Africa in the early 1960s. Danquah developed a close association with Pauli Murray, a thin, intense African-American lawyer who arrived in Accra in February 1960 to serve as a faculty member in the newly established Ghana School of Law. She had been urged to take up the position by the trade unionist, Maida Springer, who lived near her in Brooklyn and was a close friend. Through Springer, Murray had met the Kenyan leader, Tom Mboya, in 1956. She picked him up from the airport to take him to Springer's home. She also met with Nyerere and other African nationalist leaders. Murray was a formidable intellectual who was also a poet and later became a priest in the Episcopal Church. But as an interracial woman and active resistor of Jim Crow, she faced many obstacles in her daily and her professional lives. She had keen personal sense of the sufferings wrought through racial oppression. Her grandmother had been born into slavery, and she herself had been brought up by her maternal grandparents in the bitter conditions of segregation. Another difficulty for Murray was that she was sexually attracted to women at a time when homosexuality was against the law in the US, and generated prejudice and hatred. Recent interpretations of her archives reveals that she battled with gender dysphoria. At the time existed in the 1930s and 1940s, argues the Black feminist scholar Brittany Cooper. Murray might have identified as a trans man. Biographies published in 2016 and 2017 revealed that well into middle age, Murray tried to obtain hormone replacement therapy as a means of transitioning gender, but without success. The treatment scarcely existed before the mid-1960s, and even then it was seldom available to women who identified as men. Yet another factor that made Murray feel vulnerable was her political past. He had worked for a number of the organizations singled out as communist by the House Un-American Activities Committee. Because of this, when applying for a position at Cornell University, she decided to submit a 6-page memorandum detailing pertinent data on my background and organization affiliations, which may be useful to you in the event the State Department requires a loyalty investigation of all prospective personnel. She stated that in each case she had taken an anti-communist position. Murray wrote a family memoir in 1956 titled Proud Shoes. Its tone, argues Sarah Azaransky, in a study of Murray's life and work, is defiant of the insinuation that he had communist connections or that she was disloyal to the American government and to the ideals of American democracy. Yet, adds Azaransky, Murray's project can also be read as deeply apologetic. Instead of calling into question the state's use of suspicion to discredit people involved in freedom struggles, Murray went to great lengths to show that she did not deserve suspicion. In Ghana, Murray was miserable. She had never left the US before, and she was far away from the person whom she was closest to, Irene Barlow, known as Rain, who was 3 years younger than Murray. Tall, sophisticated, and white, observes Rosalind Rosenberg. In a biography of Murray, Barlow appeared to have little in common with Murray. In comparison with Barlow, Murray said she felt she was a vagabond, a pixie. But they had both suffered a hard scrabble life and shared the Episcopalian faith. They did not live together in the same household, but theirs was a profound union that gave Murray the guiding hand and spiritual embrace he had longed for. She wrote long and thoughtful letters to Rain from Ghana. Many aspects of life in Ghana were unbearable to Murray. Her house was still being built, and she had to live in a place with intolerable heat, noxious smells, and ubiquitous, I hate all these big grammars and all these big words. Ubiquitous insects. I don't know, is that ubi or ubiquitous or ubi, whatever. Yes. So she liaised with the US Embassy under Ambassador Wilson C. Flake and socialized with L. Link, an African-American on the staff who was known in Ghana for his superb and booming bass singing voice. But she did not fit easily into the large community of African-Americans who had moved to Accra in support of Dr. Nkrumah and independence of Ghana. In 1960, Maida Springer was traveling through Africa in the course of her work for the AFL-CIO and stopped in Accra to see Murray. She was alarmed by what she found. Murray told her that she was living in a police state and wanted to leave. Springer defended Nkrumah, urging that allowances should be made at this moment of decolonization, but Murray disagreed. Springer later told a biographer, "My passionate feeling about Africa, she certainly did not share. She was too cool-headed and intellectually searching and was unwilling to make any compromises to make, for undemocratic practices in Africa." Murray believed that Nkrumah was becoming a dictator and feared she was at risk of arrest because she was spending time with members of the political opposition, including J.B. Danquah. She ensured that Elle Ling, her closest contact at the U.S. Embassy, knew where she was whenever she left the capital city in case she needed to be rescued. As a precaution, she sent all her lecture notes to the CIA through Link as evidence against any charge that she was seeking to proselytize her students. It appears that Link was not simply a contact with the CIA, but also a CIA agent undercover of his work at the embassy. Murray spoke freely about her unhappiness to Lloyd Garrison Jr., a New York Times correspondent covering West Africa, who was the son of a mentor in the legal profession. The man she was in contact with at the U.S. Embassy, she told him, was a CIA agent. If she confided to Garrison that she was in contact with an African-American CIA agent, as Garrison reported to State Department officials, observes Kevin K. Gaines in Africans in Ghana, she could have been something more than an unwitting asset. At the very least, Murray championed American influence in Ghana with a steadfastness that made her serviceable to those engaged in gathering intelligence. This steadfastness led her in June 1960 to join the CIA-backed American Society of African Culture, AMSAC. Murray and Nkrumah were both extraordinary, courageous individuals with brilliant intellects and deep social concern. And in Accra, not far from each other's homes, they both listened frequently to much loved Western classical music, Beethoven's Panthetic, whatever. Anyway, let's go to the next stage, page, paragraph. So Murray's dislike for Nkrumah did not diminish, even once she had left Ghana. His attempts to gain hegemony or leadership over various countries failed. In my opinion, it was a real tragedy. That was Murray. She stated in an interview in 1976 for the Southern Oral History Program collection. Perhaps it was unfortunate, she added, that he spent so many years in the United States and got this sense of what it must be to have a big country, a subcontinent, united, and the power of a subcontinent. I've often felt that this sojourn in the United States made a tremendous impact and contributed to this obsession of a United States of Africa. Lumumba said Murray was Nkrumah's protege. This was an accurate claim in the sense that Nkrumah acted as the younger man's mentor, but it was intended by Murray to suggest an excessive and unthinking allegiance on Lumumba's part. She also referred to a rumor that he, Nkrumah, almost bled the country of money to help Lumumba bring about a domination of the then Congo. Murray visited the Congo in mid-June 1960, shortly before independence, rather. So the reason for our visit was to secure information for the Ghanaian government on how safely to rescue a group of South Africans at risk of arrest for their role in protesting apartheid, writes Rosenberg, using Murray's diary as a source. The visit was dangerous and difficult, adds Rosenberg. Further detail on this visit have not been found. So Washington, D.C. was reasonably well disposed towards Nkrumah in 1958. Argues the historian Ebere Nwa-Ubani. It had been irritated by his move towards an activist, Africa-centered foreign policy, and more so by its accompanying rhetoric. But the relationship between the two nations was sufficiently resilient to withstand this development. Our trade relation with Ghana, including access to raw materials produced in Ghana, are good. Ambassador Flake reported to Washington in October 1959. Our political relations with Ghana are friendly and fruitful. But the more Accra asserted itself throughout Africa, Nwa-Ubani notes, the more the US worried about the general direction of Ghana's foreign policy. By 1960, it was increasingly alarmed by Lumumba's close relationship with the Ghanaian leader. In February 1960, Washington resolved to discourage, whenever possible, Ghana's current tendency to support extremist elements in neighboring African countries. The US planned the definition of its relationship with Ghana. One of America's concerns about Nkrumah was his continuing and active interest in atomic matters, including his profound opposition to atomic weapons testing in Africa. He was clear-sighted about the risk of atomic weapons for Africa, which he regarded as atomic imperialism. When France started in 1960 to test its atomic bombs in Sahara Desert, Nkrumah actively supported global campaigns against it, on the grounds that it contaminated the people of Africa, who had not even been consulted. In April 1960, a positive action conference for peace and security in Africa was held in Accra, where 250 delegates represented 25 African countries. Observers from non-African countries also took part. Speaking at the conference, Nkrumah lamented, "Winds carried the poisonous debris from the explosion to various parts of Africa, including Ghana. From the point of view of genetics, these atomic tests are extremely bad and can have the most disastrous effects. The French test last February resulted in a very substantial increase in radioactivity. This was proved," he said, "by the work of the British and Canadian scientists who were manning monitoring stations in Ghana." Though firmly opposed to atomic weapons, Nkrumah was enthusiastic about the possibility of atomic power to produce energy. The Ghanaian president believed that atomic power should be available to all countries, including those emerging from colonization. Since 1952, scientists in Ghana had been working with isotopes, including experiments with radiostrontium on monkeys. I think I need a drink. Better. Anyway, let's continue. So they have been testing that said, okay, the Ghanaian president believed that atomic power should be available to all countries, and okay, let's continue rather. Ghana joined the IAEA on 28th of September 1960, 3 years after the foundation of the agency. In July 1957. That same year, Nkrumah announced a decision to establish the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission and to build an atomic reactor. It will be located on the outskirts of Accra in an area called Wabenya, which was swiftly dubbed Atomic Junction. At first, Nkrumah asked Canada, which had assisted India, for help with obtaining a reactor. But under pressure from the US, Canada declined the request. Nkrumah then turned to the Soviet Union, which promised to provide Ghana with a 2 megawatt research reactor for training a cadre of Ghanaian nuclear specialists. It also promised to provide experts, including physicists, geologists, and engineers. In February 1961, an agreement was signed between the two nations. A few years later, Nkrumah explained his thinking behind Ghana's plan for a reactor. We were fully aware, he said, that our motives might be misconstrued, but the setting up of an atomic reactor is the first practical step to building an atomic bomb. But Ghana's sole motive, he explained, was simply to enable the young nation to take every advantage of the decisive methods of research and development, which mark our modern world. It was essential to do this, he added, if we are to impart to our development, the acceleration which is required to break even with more advanced economies. We have therefore been compelled to enter the field of atomic energy. Because this already promises to yield the greatest economic source of power since the beginning of man. With these words, Nkrumah echoed the spirit of Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace speech. But this stance was evidently not regarded by Washington as appropriate for Ghana. By contrast, the US had agreed to deliver the Trico atomic reactor to the Congo in 1958, when it had no reason to expect the Congo to achieve majority rule in the near future. And again, by contrast, it was in discussion with apartheid South Africa to supply enriched uranium for an atomic reactor, known as Safari, construction on which began in 1961 and continued until 1965, when it achieved criticality. It appears that from the point of view of the US government, a necessary qualification in Africa for access to a reactor was colonial occupation or white minority rule. The end of chapter 15. So we shall go to chapter 16 next time. And chapter 16 is called Things Fall Apart. So do you think we can still take calls? What time is it? So I think, we can take calls for another 40 minutes. Just have a wee chat around that. Or we can just leave it all for later this evening, okay? And I think that's what we're going to do. So there is going to be a replay that's going to be popping up on your screen next. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me. All right? I'll see you later. Good afternoon.
Maiyegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Maiyegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Maiyegun ti dé o ọ̀rẹ́ ara yìí. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Lórí Facebook, lórí YouTube. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Maiyegun já wa sí. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Bó bá ṣe eré àní Maiyegun máa wí. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Ó sì tún ṣe eré wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o. Maiyegun Diary Nayibi #1. Maiyegun Diary political. Maiyegun kẹgbọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu.
Maiyegun Diary na ibi number one.
Àní Maiyegun làwa mọ̀ tó dòdòdò.
Maiyegun Diary na ibi number one.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Maiyegun ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Lórí Facebook.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Lórí YouTube.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Bọ́ bàbá gbé wúrẹ́.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Ijó ìgbádìyẹ.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Presido bá rúfin o.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Gómìnà kówó jẹ.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Ọlọ́pàá tí ń gba rìbá.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin o.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Òpùrọ́ olóṣèlú.
Maiyegun máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Maiyegun ti dé.
Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o.
Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀ o, Maiyegun ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀, Maiyegun ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Oníkan ṣáàtì ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, fáwọn ará ìlú tó gbé wọn débẹ̀ o.
Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Kì máa yí ṣeré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣẹ̀fẹ̀. Kì máa yí ṣeré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣẹ̀fẹ̀. Ẹni bá ti lè lẹ́bọ̀ lẹ́rù o, ọmọ bá dèrò kàṣà ìtú wọn síta.
Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Tẹnitẹni ọmọ Maiyegun ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni mo fọlọ́run ṣọ́ ẹ̀ bá kìlẹ́bù. Lóòótọ́ olódodo ìlú ọ̀tá ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni ìwọ ṣá máa ń ṣọ́ra kò sì mọ́ bẹ̀rù. Bọ́tà ń lérí bóníṣègùn lé káwọn mọ̀mọ́ fi ṣera wọn ni ó ti dẹrùn tí wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ sì mọ́ bẹ̀. Èèpo ọ̀bọ lọmọ bá dérò tàjẹ́ ò gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́, ó ti dọba lórí àbínú ẹni kò sì mọ́ bùyà. Àìsíwọ̀lú ní ẹnìkẹ́ ìgbódì ẹyin lábàrá o, ó kó ẹni tó bá dán o àkàmù. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì o. Ẹni bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o.
Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Maiyegun ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.